We are back on MorningLine talking about the good works of the Salvation Army with Mayor Ethan Frizzell with us this morning. Nice to have you on, sir. And
thank you.
Got one of the props, the Red Kettle's up here, and I was just talking about how, you know, it's very easy for people to give. That's one of the things you want folks to know, that they can walk out and it's just a single act of reaching into their pocket or purse and pulling out some coins or bills, putting it in. Because I was saying times have changed. Most people shop with plastic, and you know, it's not like you have a credit card reader out there, do you? At least not here in Nashville.
We do not. And one of the things that we're doing is giving people the opportunity to give both in the traditional method, but also to give online. So the SalvationArmyNashville.org is what people are doing, is they're creating their own online kettle, and they have a real kettle as well. So that team may go out and they may ring a couple hours at a Kroger, and then take their funds and then email their friends and say, hey, I'm fundraising for the Salvation Army.
Great.
So we recognize that it's always been about peer connections. When neighborhoods were deeply connected and people knew each other, someone would stand at a kettle and say to their friends, please give to the Salvation Army. And it was that network strength that raised the money that allowed us to change lives. In the same way, the online kettle allows us to reach out to our friends and say, please give to the Salvation Army, and so that we can change lives together. Now, a great part of the Red Kettle Challenge this year is that our goal for each team is $1,000. We did that very intentionally because for every $1,000 we can help one person for 1 month in support of housing. And so that our goal is 575,000 or 575 teams, because by the nature of our building we're able to serve 575 months of service.
Is that for Middle Tennessee, Davidson County? What do you? Where is that for?
Yes, that's for the five counties around Nashville.
When did the Red Kettle start? When did they? What's the day they always come out first to get
So
started?
this year they're actually starting December 8th. To your point, people not carrying cash, typically they started the day after Thanksgiving. This year we're concentrating on 12 very intentional days.
12 days of Christmas.
Yeah, right? It works, doesn't it? Right?
Yes.
12 days.
That's a good idea.
That was our hope. But for the reason that you say, between Nashville traffic and the fact that people aren't carrying cash, we recognize that we needed to shorten the time that the kettles were out there, but ask the community to be mindful that you will see the kettle there less, so be mindful of the Salvation Army when you walk by.
I just want to hit on the fact that, yeah, you're going to have those 12 days of Christmas, and this is obviously your biggest fundraising time of the year, but obviously you serve a purpose year-round. And I'm wondering, how do you raise money throughout the year?
So we have a couple of events. One is in the spring we do a fundraiser for camp. Last year we sent 100 children to camp. We have a camp on Dale Hollow, which is important for summer learning for the children. It allows for safety and peace and happiness for the children during the summer and protection for them. So that's a wonderful program. We have some people who give to that fund. We also have our Angel Tree Gathering of Angels, where we have donors that support the Angel Tree that was started in its largeness actually in Nashville. And so that fundraiser raises a lot of money as well, and those are the Angel Tree. This year we'll serve about 6,500 children, about 700 seniors, and now we're putting on Angel Trees for the veterans of the community through the VA program. And so that's a wonderful way for people to give material goods, and obviously this community is tremendous. We have more than 100 corporations that have adopted angels this year, and then we have Angel Trees at the mall. So those are our three primary sources, and thankfully, because people have trusted the Salvation Army so long, we have people who give on a monthly basis because they recognize in June and July it's you know, everyone's out of town or on vacation with their families, but you know, this past June, and it's one of my favorite heartfelt stories of the year, this past June we had a father that walked in the driveway holding twins' hands, and when he came in, he said very earnestly, he said, I have $40 left. He said, do I get a hotel for my children, or do I go and feed them? And he was just at the end of his decision-making ability. It happens that the children's mother unfortunately has succumbed to the opioid crisis, and so they'd been living in a tent outside their very own home, but the home was now not safe for the children. Well, those children now are in school.
What did you do when they walked in? What was your step immediately at that point?
So the first thing you do is make sure that they can get housed, right?
So I mean, he walks in, you go, listen, you don't have to choose between the two. We're going to find a way to feed your children and get you shelter.
Right, because parents shouldn't have to do that,
Right, of course not.
And we could tell very quickly that the children were not developmentally on par of where they should be. And I'm a firm believer that we should not be able to interview a child between the age of 5 and 7 and tell you the likelihood of their future. And unfortunately, we can. So if we know a child is struggling, how do we put the safety measures around those so that they can be lifted up? And so we brought the family in. Thankfully, we were able to do that quickly. Obviously, it made sure that they were fed, important. But first said, you're safe. Relax for a moment, and then let's see what you want to do. And we have a wonderful team, and they connected them to a number of community resources, even though the family lived with us. And now the children are in school, and it's amazing because the children don't even appear to be the same kids that we saw walk in this summer.
See, I bet you can tell a lot of stories like that.
Yeah, it's what we do. Right.
I mean, that's what's great about so many of these organizations that get them back on. $40 away from just having nothing. And that's why, you know, it's so good to come on and talk about this. I don't know how anyone can be sitting at home not thinking, if you can help, if you're in a better situation, why not?
Well, and Nashville has a history of that, right? I mean, that's one of the great things about Nashville is very giving, and to a number of agencies, which we're thankful for and that we partner with, is that it takes a full community to make sure. I believe that no child should be sleeping in a car for 2 nights in a row. Unfortunately, in Nashville, we know that there are children sleeping in places not meant for families every night.
I asked my friends over at the Nashville Rescue Mission the same question. And as this city's changed and it's become more metropolitan and the growth downtown with all the cranes and the construction, it is, as you said, just like that house across the street from your headquarters, it's not affordable anymore. And so I'm wondering, are you seeing an increased need and a spike in homelessness, at least in the city area, where folks are being displaced and have no place to go?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is, and we often use the term social displacement, right? Because they are being displaced from our choices as a society.
Because they were renting, and all of a sudden someone realizes, well, I can get them out, renovate this, and triple what I'm renting for or sell this place.
That's right.
They can't afford it then.
And the person can't afford to travel to live in Madison or Smyrna.
No, if they don't have a car or vehicle to get around.
So, you know, so typically they say, well, I can live in a shelter for a day or two, and then all of a sudden the shelter becomes a week or two. And what we know is that the experience itself is detrimental, and then before they know it, 5 years has gone by or 10 years gone by. So the first thing we have to do is to say, how do we interrupt that cycle first? 1, prevent homelessness. 2, when someone becomes homeless, making sure that we remove that experience from them as quickly as possible by helping them get into housing. And I would relate it like this. We got the great news in the last week that Amazon's coming with 5,000 jobs. Right?
Well, it's great. But there's a downside to everything.
Right?
Yeah, it's great. But, you know, that's going to just push the prices up even more.
Right. So one of the things that we chose as a society is to give them about $100 million to come. Right? And we celebrate that, and we should.
I know, well, yeah.
But I would say on the other side.
I know where you're going on this. Yeah, go ahead.
For that, we talk about that as community investment.
Right.
Right? We talk about that as a benefit to the community. So then how do we get affordable housing in the same conversation? Yeah. Because what we know is every time a new condo development is built and we take down the old rooms for rent, there's a lot of people who are in those rooms for rent that now have no room for rent. And so how do we take the same intentional design that we do to bring in an Amazon to protect those who've been living here and saying there's room for you as well? Transit, of course, is one of those.
We're going to have to look more at that. Because transit's something that we haven't addressed because that plan failed. And listen, we got to take a break. We have a special guest over here. He's making noise, but it's good. We have a very, very special guest, a Hall of Famer, all right, from the WWE. I remember when he laid down for Hulk Hogan. Yeah. Okay, but that's all right. He's coming up. All right, we got Double J coming up in just a moment to talk about the Red Kettle Challenge. We'll be back right after this.